Hey guys, it's Rush. Hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the channel. Before I get into this video, it is hot as hell in the UK. It's 32 degrees Celsius what it was yesterday. It's probably I think it's the same today, about 30. And I know that doesn't sound hot, but with no AC, the way it's humid, it is a killer. What time is it now? Actually, it's 8:11 a.m. and it's already baking. I've already been for my morning walk and stuff, and I am dying. So I'm just going to put that out there. I mean, actually, there is some relevance to that because I haven't done much content. I haven't been streaming. It is mainly because I've just been enjoying the weather, spending time with family and stuff. But yeah, I'm making the most of it because British weather, you never know what's around the corner. So the topic of this video, I put out a post on the community section of YouTube and I asked the question, what is your worst Street Fighter 6 mechanic? I mentioned obviously Drive Rush, Drive Impact, Drive Reversal, or Drive Parry. Those four mechanics. Let me know in the comments which one you hate the most and why. So there are some comments to this post, some of them which people didn't actually say why, which is unfortunate, but it's fine. We'll go through the comments, but I think this is a good topic to cover because we've got the next season of Street Fighter 6 coming. Well, we've got Ingrid coming to close out season 3, but season 4 is on the horizon, and we have no idea whether Capcom will actually have the balls to change the meta, change the mechanics. Maybe they'll introduce something new. Who knows? So I think it's a good place to talk about the mechanics that exist in the game at the moment. And I will obviously share my opinion. I think you guys will know what I'll say, but let's just talk about it collectively. Obviously, the comments on this video I will respond to, so it will be a form of discussion post me recording this video. So the first comment comes from Master. Master said, it's funny, so the first one in this list, it's already somebody not listening. I'm joking. I'm just poking fun. But there are a lot of comments where what I actually specifically asked was not answered. But anyway, we move on. Drive Reversal is probably the best mechanic. And yeah, so telling me what the best mechanic is, it's a valid point though, because it's the only, well, I suppose National Parry is a defensive mechanic, but I was going to say it's a very particular defensive mechanic that we can use in block strings and on wake up. So I'm going to say it's powerful. It's a powerful defensive mechanic in terms of what it is capable of doing, but in reality, it can be punished super hard. It is like a get off me mechanic, similar to V Reversal in Street Fighter 5, but this is just has a lot more risk. It's a lot slower for the most part. So Drive Reversal is good is the first comment. So the second comment is from Juan Mi, and there's a lot of information. I actually haven't read this before, so let me have a good read of this. So I like the drive system as a whole. You can use it if you want from our start. The drive meter and super meter are separate. Parries are good. You're skilled. I agree. Yes, they can be very rewarding, but they can be risky too. Drive impact is okay. It's something you've got to be aware of. Not a big deal on its own, but it adds to the mental stack. Punishable if not used well. Drive reversal can be useful. It's cool that you can do it on wake up, but not to use mindlessly. I think DR is my favorite. Drive rush, where to? All right, we're on the same page. Oh, where to start? The dots emphasize the emotion in this post, I feel. I hate it as it is now. I barely use it for pressure, but sometimes for punishes. That's why I'm not good at this game. It's a fair point. This is a good actual point made, because if you don't lean into the mechanics, if you, like me, don't use the mechanics because you don't like them, it actually hinders your progress in the game. So yeah, so that's why I'm not very good at the game, because I don't really use it enough. I expect you to drive rush. I see it coming. I try to check it, and half of my bar is now gone. And this sounds like this isn't my secondary account, by the way. I didn't write this. I think burnout is a good idea if you burn yourself out. I'm not sure about the chip caused by the opponent. Sometimes it can be way too much. This is a really, really good post from Juan about the current state of the game. So they've obviously highlighted, I'll make a note of it on my notepad, that Drive Rush, I'm going to put a 1 against Drive Rush, little tally, is their least enjoyed mechanic. But I think the way they've articulated their feelings about all the mechanics is really, really good. But I can relate to this post. You know, I don't use Drive Rush enough, and I have a really hard time with checking Drive Rush. Like I feel like it is a me thing, and it is the way I see the game, my mental stack, and it's my timings and judging of the spacings of the Drive Rush in regards to how I check it. are the problem. And I mean, all I can really do is lab the spacing and the drive rush options and kind of like have an idea of what they can do at certain spacing. It's different per character, but I don't like is volatility a word? The volatility that Drive Rush introduces. But I'll talk more about my feelings at the very end. So that's a really good comment from Juan there. So the third comment comes from I'm Just Lightning Man, and they've said I would give it to anti-air perfect parry. I know it existed in Street Fighter 5, but it's somehow better in 6 for people who tend to lazy out their DP motion with the screen freeze. So this is parry. So I mean, make a tally against parry. So not only have they said parry, but they've also given a specific scenario, which is that's really good. Parry has a score of 1. Commiserations to you, sir. So yeah, specifically the parry of anti-airs. I see a lot of players, mid high level players and high level players complain about parry. So I think it's a legitimate strategy in this game because of the way the game's built. Because a DP, fastest anti-air DP is 5 frames. So if the opponent jumps in the air and they press a button very late in the jump arc where it still can hit you, but they can land on the floor. To be fair, they'll be in recovery. But there are instances where you do a DP, a bit of a mix-up, I guess, but your DP will be blocked. So if they press a button, that won't happen. That you'll get either a counter hit because of the startup, or you'll get punish counter because they're in recovery. But if they don't press a button, your DP will get baited because they jump. There's no recovery on the jump. They land on the ground. They seem to recover quicker when they don't press a button. There's no recovery. Your DP will get baited and get blocked. If they press a button, they get hit. This is where perfect parry comes in, because perfect parry will lose. Perfect parry anti-air will lose if they do a late hit out of the air. You get a perfect parry, screen freeze, free punish. But it will lose if they don't press anything, because obviously they land on the ground and they'll grab your parry. This whole mix of this mix-up, this air mix-up I just explained, air mix-up and anti-air mix-up, I feel ties directly into Street Fighter 6, because I feel like in Street Fighter 6, their design philosophy was everything has to have risk-reward to like the nth degree, and that, again, creates that situation. So let's say you throw a fireball, the person's jumping, and in their mind, they're like, and I've said to people about this situation, just don't press anything. If they've jumped, in your mind, you have 2 options. You either do nothing and then try and grab their parry as you land, as I explained, or in your mind, you may think they should be in recovery here of the fireball, so I should get a free punish counter. Sometimes it's hard to gauge that, and it's better to do nothing. But if you jump in, press a button, you get punish counter. Yep, it's because you punish the recovery of the fireball. You're unsure, don't do anything. But this is where people should do anti-air perfect parry. Where you don't have enough time to anti-air DP because it's 5 frames, you then press the parry because it's got 2 frame startup. If they press, you get a punish. I don't like this design, but that's where it should really be used the most. And high level, you see someone's in recovery of something, a normal maybe, a fireball, whatever they've done, and they've recognized the opponent's jumped, they will think they can punish, but you're thinking, if I can recover, I'll tap parry. It can be more in favor of the person doing the action if it's uncertain, because if you just hold down, if you hold back, you'll block. You tap parry, there's no real risk unless they empty jump. That's where the risk is. But where you see people tapping it as in this comment, just for regular anti-airs, like nothing's going on in neutral, you jump and they tap parry. I think that's crazy that people do that. So you can't really, the scenario I explained where it makes sense, and the scenario as per the comments where people are tapping parry all the time, you can't really nerf either of them, because they're both, in terms of the frames and the scenario, they're no different. The game engine can't tell the difference between those 2 scenarios. It is what it is. They're both the same in terms of the actions. If someone perfect parried anti-aired something, I feel like they should be at advantage, but not get a punish. The next comment, Transkona, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, Transkona, has said, Drive Rush should cost 2 bars because it's hella annoying in the neutral and I can't stand it. Shout outs to Transconat for the comments. Yeah. I think I mentioned about Drive Rush in the previous video being 2 bars, and I mentioned that it would cause combos. It would hurt combos because you spend more bars for combos, meaning if you want to go for combos, you're going to be burnt out more often, which is not good. I think there's a real simple solution to this, but I think it might be difficult to gauge actually whilst you're playing the game. But in my opinion, if the opponent is in a grounded state, so when you're going for Oki, or if they're in a juggle state and you do raw Drive Rush, it should cost 1 bar. If you're on the ground, crouching, or you've chose to jump and someone raw Drive Rushes, then it should be 2 bars. I think that fixes a lot of stuff because you still have the same Oki. Combos don't get broken, but raw Drive Rush gets hurt. But Capcom don't want to know. The 5th comment from Haroon, they've said, Drive Rushes can be annoying at times, but overall good in my opinion. But Drive Rush has been unbalanced for so long, it's probably intentional. I agree. I think Drive Rush for Capcom is the moneymaker, and Japan are eating it up. So that's 3 now for Drive Rush. I think the thing with Drive Rush is it causes so much chaos. It causes a lot of chaos. But we'll talk about it more at the end of the video. But I appreciate the Haroon. I do agree with what you're saying. This isn't biased. I'm not just looking for Drive Rush hate. I was genuinely looking for your critique. But obviously, we all know Drive Rush sucks. So it is what it is. 6th comment, Choice F has said, anti-air parry can be annoying. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I covered it in the previous comment. But yeah, it is very frustrating when people are being rewarded for very lazy anti-airing. I mean, for me, it's annoying, but as soon as somebody presents it, then I start testing them. So what I notice is against these types of characters, this will help you in Street Fighter 6 actually. So not characters, players, is if you jump over a fireball, many people will be able to anti-air DP you if you're jumping over a fireball and they've recovered, because when they throw a projectile, they are stationary, they can't do anything. So they need to react to what you're doing. It gives them, their brain then switches to, if this mother fluffer jumps, Rush G jumps right now, and it happens to time at the same time this fireball, I am only going to think about anti-air, and that's the time they will anti-air DP because they're looking for it. They're investing all their mental stack in the anti-air because there's nothing else they can do in that moment of time. But if they're in like a panic state where their mental stack is high and they're doing stuff, it happens a lot if they whiff a button. If the opponent whiffs a button, like a heavy or a sweep, because Ryu, EU ranked, to whiff a sweep and you've jumped at the same time they've done that, I'll be honest, most intermediate players will tap parry. They will, because they will anticipate you pressing a button. Neither of you will be sure if the move recovers in time, if you're going to hit, blah, blah, blah. They'll never anti-air DP. They'll always press parry. For the majority of the times, those types of players will always press parry. And you know what's crazy? It's the ones that are like that don't adapt, that continue to tap parry. It's actually crazy when it happens. Another mammoth comment here. This is from Cat the Shredder, and they've said they're not bad mechanics, just implementing in a way that is often scrubby and encourages baiting people. PP anti-air into back throw corner. Yeah, that's such a crazy momentum shift, that scenario. Then the drive reversal as an offensive mechanic to keep them cornered. I actually like that concept. We use that in Street Fighter 5 as well. It's still risky. I think drive reversal, you have to really choose specific spots to use it. I mean, I mentioned in my previous video that you can react to drive rush cancel, do drive reversal. That was actually incorrect. You can't react to it. As soon as somebody does crouch and medium kick, say a Shoto, for example, and they've got a lot of bar, they're probably going to drive rush, especially if they want to do drive rush back throw. If they do that, you're kind of committing to drive reversal when you see the crouch and medium kick or the early frames of the drive reversal, but it's not a reaction. You push them back in the corner. They spent 3 bars. I like that sort of decision making, but yeah, it's the point there, I guess, is that it's more offense rather than defense or orientated gameplay. The worst is the vacuum system that encourages forward movement and punishes blocking and not being aggressive. Yeah, so yeah, you're pushed to be aggressive in this game because it builds bar. Keeping them in the corner is like a win condition in this game if you can keep them there. Specials can only be done with forward jumps, unlike helicopter Shotos in Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Right, hang on. Specials can only be done with forward jump. I don't understand that. They may have to elaborate. I don't get that. Not sure. This also applies to frame data when you juggle. When your juggle goes on for too long, they start falling like a brick. Punk called Street Fighter 6 once a game with built-in lag. It has some great ideas, but was implemented with casuals and scrubs in mind. And we won't get anything else because people keep buying it. Yeah, I mean, it's Japan. Japan are eating this up. So let me go over that again. It applies to frame data when your juggle goes on too long. They start falling like a brick. Again, I don't know what that means. I mean, the juggle points will decrease because you won't be able to juggle them. There's a limit to Sorry, I'm spitting everywhere. I'm so dehydrated. Sorry. I'll get a drink. Juggle points only go on for so long because combos will never end. I mean, that's a system design, right? That's been in all Street Fighters. But I do agree with that comment about built-in lag. For me, Street Fighter 6 feels really, really, really like, it feels sluggish. It feels like, even on PC with high refresh rate, an OLED monitor, and it's optimized, to me, the game just feels really heavy and sluggish. But then when I played on PS5 offline, oh my God, I don't actually know how people play the game offline. Like, I feel like offline PS5, everything you do has to be almost preemptive. The setup must have been terrible. That's all I can really say on that. But yeah, it's not a real... I feel like this is almost defending Street Fighter 6, but then also calling it out for being like a casual friendly game, which I think is true. So we might spend a lot of time talking about Blood Moon's comments. They have commented Drive Impact. Next comment. I'm sorry. Let me go back to the previous one. So yeah, Drive Impact. My point, my opinion on Drive Impact is it's annoying, and I hate. What's the mechanic even called? I haven't played it in so long. A Rev Blow. I hate Rev Blow and Seat of the Wolves. With Drive Impact, the thing with Drive Impact is if you get hit by it, like punish counter, you've done something or not reacted to it in the moment. You put yourself in a vulnerable state and been punished for it. Doesn't feel fair, but it ultimately is down to us because we've done something that allowed us not to deal with Drive Impact. I don't like seeing it in neutral, but it is a thing. You got to be conscious of it. It obviously exists to increase mental stack, and I feel like it's more present in lower level play. You'll have 1600 MR players who are losing a match, and they'll just throw out Drive Impact for no reason. And if it hits you, it then gives them some momentum to then level the playing field, and it doesn't feel. It's not a good feeling. But the thing with Drive Impact is it's a mechanic that I mean, everything you should take full responsibility for. But I feel like if I've not reacted to it, or if I've got hit by it, I messed up. It's not the same with Drive Rush. With Drive Rush, I feel like with Drive Rush, I am doing what looks like and feels like the right thing. It's the green is flying at me. There's so many obscure things they can do once they go green, and we'll talk about it later in the video. But yeah, the score at the moment, so Drive Rush has got 3, Drive Parry's got 2, Drive Impact has now got 1. This next comment from ATL Zombie, they said, the entire parry system is obnoxious. I do not have a logical, well thought out argument. I see blue and I get angry. That's actually 3 on Drive Parry now. Yeah, Drive Parry's, it really appeals to people that like parrying. So Third Strike players, City of the Wolves players, it's going to appeal to people that like tapping parry. If you don't like tapping parry, you've got to use the mechanics in this game to go far in the game. So you've got to get in the lab to realize where you can use parry to react to things. That's the key thing. You don't want to tap parry just for, I was going to say shits and giggles, but I just said shits and giggles. I didn't want to swear in this video. But anyway, yeah, for shits and giggles. But if you can learn to use it to react to things, so projectiles, slow startup moves, if you're going for a perfect parry on wake up to then get the back throw in, put them in the corner, you're doing it with intent. When you're tapping parry as a guess, like a literal just YOLO guess because you're panicking, or if you're tapping it because you're just doing it for no reason behind buttons, it becomes frustrating. For me, what I don't like about parry is I hate the way it limits movement. And yeah, I get it. You've tapped parry. You should be in a punishable state. I get that. Totally understand. But it limits movement, and then you've got like, this weird situation where it's like, oh, enjoying the recovery, I can't go back into parry because I'm in punish counter state of parry. Can't go back in if you need to go back into it, so you can get baited kind of. You then got to hold like back to block high and then down back to block low during the recovery, because if you hold the wrong direction, so if I'm holding back the recovery of tapping parry and you do a low attack, I'll get punish countered. People don't actually realize this, so it's punishable. I don't mind it being punishable. I hate the way it puts you in this like sluggish, slow, like recovery state. I actually compared V shift directly to drive parry, and similarities are there. First and foremost, they introduced V shift at the same time Luke was introduced. Luke was a Street Fighter 6 character who had some elements of Street Fighter 6 in his V system. So Luke was introduced, V shift was introduced. This is why I feel like V shift was drive parry in Street Fighter 5. The difference was it was almost like it was the mechanic itself created movement. So you would backdash. It was a literal backdash that was blue, same color as drive parry. You were punishable to it. So if you tried to throw it, your throw would whiff, but they were in recovery because the V shift didn't cause the throw to go slowly. It didn't cause the slowdown. Again, drive parry, slowdown, freeze. It didn't cause the slowdown because the throw is not affected by V shift. And that meant you could punish it if you reacted to the V shift after you whiff throw, if you got the frames to punish it. Unfortunately, the way it was implemented, not all characters get punished. I think that was really bad with its design in Street Fighter 6. But if you press a strike, if I press a jab or a heavy or a fireball and you do V shift, it leaves me in a punishable state. So you can V shift and then punish because I'm in slow recovery of that move because of slowdown. Or you could commit to a follow up, which it didn't do health. It did damage to health, but it's grey health you got. But it would give you a knockdown and you'd regain some bar back as well. So I don't know if it would work, but I actually think V shift was a flawed but good mechanic. It needed some refinement. I think if V shift was implemented in Street Fighter 6, it would stop that sluggishness of the game. It would create more movement. It would create, it's still punishable, but it can be used more like dynamically. It keeps the gameplay flowing. Whereas like seeing people tapping parry and can't move and this weird situation where someone's trying to walk forward and throw and then the person does like, I don't know, like super, random stuff, you know what I mean? It's really ugly to see people whiffing buttons, tapping parry. Whereas if you got someone whiffing buttons, tapping V shift, the game doesn't just like get bogged down. The person flies back, waist bar. The game just continues. They just re-engage with the neutral after the V shift because you can't really punish a V shift in neutral because if they fly back, you're not going to see it coming. Everything carries on, but their meter has been hurt because you've just spent meter to do that. So I think it would have been a lot better, but who am I? Next comment from Ravent God has said parry for sure. So no elaboration on as to why. I think we've spoken about parry more than enough, but anti-air parry, sluggishness of it, and the ugliness of the interaction if they're just whiffing it in neutral. So parry's actually on 4 now. So parry's got 4, Drive Rush 3, Drive Impact has got 1. The last comment from Fnatic Gamer says, it's funny because I do agree with it. I do agree. Drive Rush should never have been created, worst mechanic ever. Now, I say it's the worst mechanic ever, but obviously I'm saying that based on the games that I've played. There's a number of games people have told me about where they're like, no rush, this game and this mechanic is 10 times worse. Probably is, but I've not played that game, so I can't comment on that mechanic. I honestly don't understand how Capcom sat in a room, like their employees, their designers, their devs sat in a room, planned this all out and said, okay, the mechanic does this, mechanic does that. Can they do a special out of it? Yes. When they do a special, what happens? They handbrake and literally stop on a dime. It screen freezes and eats inputs. I don't care what anyone says. No, not that I don't care. I don't want to hear what you got to say. The screen freeze creates an alternate dimension where you have the actual timeline of inputs. But if someone does Drive Rush, the time window where you press shifts because the freeze happens and then it shifts. I'm not saying the freeze is an issue. You need the freeze there because you will never react to a drive rush if the freeze is not there. But when you're pressing buttons during the freeze, that button should still come out. But for better or worse, it should still come out. It should not happen because you press the button. We are human beings. If we do something, we expect it to happen. But Street Fighter 6, Capcom, they design a mechanic that shifts the space-time continuum to create a new timeline, which then buttons are pressed at a different date and time. But you can't react to it because by the time it's happened, it's too late. They're already flying at you. I can't believe that they think this is a good mechanic. I can't believe it. And I can't believe the raw neutral version costs $1. And I can't believe that you can do specials out of it. I think it's good you can do specials because, you know, drive rush anti-ADP, you need that in the game, but you can do specials out of it, but you can immediately stop the character where they're standing when you do the special. So let's do like
Bison drive rush, because he drives you pretty fast into like the slowest startup scissors, which yeah, you'd think is the worst thing to except slow startup. But no, we get slow startup. Bison flies across the screen and then goes into, so this is it, so I'm there. Bison's here, you can see it on the screen, I can't see the OBS. Flies across to there, then does a slice move, literally stops. And by that point, I've done, so he's just starting scissors. I've already done the start of a crouching medium punch here. It's going to be closer. And then the crouching medium punch comes there, it's coming out, it's done scissors, it's already there. And then what happens? I'm in recovery, boom! Punish counter, scissors have clobbered me. Now that's how you go into a full combo. Let's say you dump super out 3 into that situation. So punish counter, 1 drive rush, super out 3. They're doing mad damage, my drive bar has been hurt, they're regaining drive gauge. All because this idiot, not even them, it's not even the player's fault. Capcom sat in a room and said this was a good idea.
Apologies, I went off on a bit of a rant there. I apologize, sorry for that. Anyway, getting back to the conclusion to this video. So yeah, worst mechanic ever. It's very annoying, and I think the power levels of it, it's so powerful for the amount you're spending, and it is carrying people. It's the only way to put it. It's carrying people, and you can call me a scrub for not being able to deal with it. I am a scrub. I can't do with drive rush, and I wholeheartedly admit that it takes me out of my comfort zone. I really struggle mentally to deal with it, and I find often the only way I do with drive rush is I do reversals, so super and DP. That works if it's at a specific range, or I just don't engage. And if I do that, I actually have a better time with this game. As soon as I try and check drive rush, it's just like, it's long. Like trying to check Jury's drive rush, like good luck. That's all I'm going to say. Drive parry, I think we spoke about drive parry more than enough in this video, but that came tied. So 4 votes for drive rush, 4 votes for drive parry. It could be better. I think V shift instead of drive parry would be a lot better of an approach as well. Drive impact was mentioned, but I gave my thoughts on drive impact as well. It's annoying, but we've got to be accountable. Yeah, let's see. Season 4 around the corner. I'm hoping they're breaking up the game somewhat, but we don't know. There's no information as of yet about what season 4 would be. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you watching, guys. I know that the content's slow at the moment, and it's, you know, maybe it's not what you want to watch at the moment, controlling videos and see the wolf stuff and whatever else I ramble on about. But I appreciate you watching regardless. Take it easy. I'll catch you next one. Take care.